The letter I stands for isolated. Here's a story from the Old Testament. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. I woke up in the recovery unit. It was November 7th, 2001, and I had just had the leaky mitral valve in my heart replaced. A voice was prompting me in my ear saying, "Breathe, breathe." As I returned to semi-consciousness, I was aware I was still intubated and that I was restrained so I could not injure myself. Though I knew I was being monitored and watched, I was terrified, for I was totally at the mercy of someone else. However, it was better than the previous time I had been in isolation. That had been at SEER school. That stands for Survival, Resistance, Evasion, and Escape. SEER school in California before I went to Vietnam. It was on October 14th, 1971, and I had, as my inner critic told me, done something really stupid. And now I was hogtied, gagged, hoodwinked, and stuffed in a small metal box, isolated from all the other prisoners at the simulated prisoner of war camp where our group was being trained and held. I was being punished, in solitary confinement, isolated, left alone for several hours. At first, I was very angry and defiant. But as time passed, I had to wrestle with the growing terror within me. During this COVID pandemic, we see many people alone in the hospital, isolated from those they love as they wrestle, as they fight for their lives. Others around them are either gowned, masked, wearing face shields, or in a bed beside them, wrestling for life as well. I cannot imagine this is very comforting. Of the three experiences of isolation I have outlined, there is not one I would willingly choose. I found confinement and isolation terrible, for this meant I was not in control of my own existence, but totally dependent upon others. Even worse was being left alone to wrestle with my own thoughts and emotions. Encouraged by that inner critic that thrives on such circumstances to put the worst possible spin on everything. I can remember being in that little metal box, making an extensive mental list of everyone I would blame for my situation, starting with my local military recruiter. But now we're expected, if we travel any distance from our community, to, upon our return, put ourselves in isolation for the sake of the larger community. After 14 days pass, we are either freed, supposedly not able to transmit this dreaded infection, or we are confined elsewhere, for we ourselves have developed the disease and are under treatment, hoping for the best. I can only imagine the inner conversation as one begins the 14-day isolation. Was whatever it was that brought us to this point a move, a visit to an infected area, exposure to someone who had the disease? Was it worth it?